Hi, thanks for joining me. So today I'd like to do a vlog. I'm going to be posting this on my fan translation channel on YouTube and also on my Playongo channel. I think I'm going to cross post it. And the reason being is that I'd like to talk about the fan translation projects I've worked on. And I think this is something that is interesting to video gamers. And I'd also just like to get a little bit of a wider audience on this. Not a lot of people are going to watch this video, I don't think, but I'd like to just react a bit to the reception that some of my translation projects have gotten over the years. I don't know, at the risk of being like a like some pathetic middle-aged person that I am, like looking back on my glory days or something like that, but I think it's more that I'm looking at moving into translating a little bit more seriously and a little bit more professionally. So I kind of just wanted to go over this, and also like I'd like to provide you guys a little bit more perspective from the perspective of somebody that works on these projects, because as a as a consumer of them, you may not really have that perspective. So I think that might be something that people would really find interesting. This is going to be messy. I don't know. My website's right here for anyone to see if you guys want to check that out. But what we're going to do, these are translations I've submitted as like an author, but these have all been collaborative projects. And so we're going to go through the big list of projects I've worked on just really briefly. And I want to talk about the ones that have had some kind of reception. I'll talk about all of them a little bit, but I'll try to keep it short. So, Ace of Spades. This is slightly embarrassing. It's an edo-game, basically like a strip poker game. I translated this because Golden is the person that I worked on this with, posted, just wanted help with this, I think in a forum, and I was like, sure, why not, I'll translate that. So I translated it up, got it back to them. They, made a patch for it. We released it in 2009, and I'm not expecting much response for this, honestly. Like, it'd probably be kind of embarrassing if there was much of a response like for this project. I don't know that there's really like a playthrough, any reviews anybody have made or anything like that, but it was just a fun little project I did. So there is that. Next up we have Airwolf. I'm just credited as additional translation support. This is a nice thing people do, but they really don't need to, depending. I think I just provided some translation support on like the forum, and so I was credited along with several other translators for just helping out. I think the same thing with Ayakashi no Shiro. This is a Game Boy game. The other one's like a Famicom game. But it's script and editing and a revision. Honestly, I don't remember even what I did on that, or if I worked. I don't know if I'm miscredited on this. I don't think so, but I probably did something. But so this was sort of a more official project that just came out this past year. It was my only release for 2017. Supper and I released this game, and Guest had done some original work on it way back in 2007, and I ended up dumping the script in 2017 and translated it, and Supper agreed to do some hacking for it, and it came out really great. I'm super happy with how this came out. It's a goofy, like, golf game with like a really over-the-top anime styled like story to it. But I guess more importantly, in the user review information, there's nothing. And we're going to see some user reviews, but that's one thing that I think, if you guys play a fan translation and you like it, the way it's supposed to work is that you're supposed to go to romhacking.net, you're supposed to get the original ROM. Here it's named. Here's a CRC32, so you can check. I mean, if you dump your own, you can check it against actually, we should probably have other hashes for the ROM, but anyway, you're going to want to have something that matches that, and then you apply the patch. It's super easy. There's patching programs on the site, and you just I've provided the patch in several formats. You just patch your ROM and then you play it. But there was a nice little bit of reception for this. If I go to YouTube and go to battle golf for Yui. We had a video that was made by Did You Know Gaming in a series they do called Region Locked, I guess. I haven't seen, I actually subscribed to Do You Know Gaming, but I've only subscribed fairly recently. But this is a pretty cool, I'll probably pause it so you don't get like audio, or I'll just turn it down. There we go. But they do a really cool video where they really go over the game. And they even credit us, which is super cool. So I really appreciate them. Like this is honestly, this is one of the nicest things I think that anybody has done, to a certain extent, because they go really in depth with like the game and the references and things like that. Like you know, it's nicely edited. So here they see there's like a Gege Kitaro reference and stuff like that. Watch this video, you know, if you want to get the whole scoop. There's a nice pinned comment here too that that gives a little bit of just information about the game, but you know, they credit, I don't know if I've get the spot where they credit us in this, but anyway, it doesn't. Oh, here we go. So guest, supper, filler, you know, it's little things like that. They just acknowledge that we worked on this. I really appreciate that, because people don't do that almost at all, honestly. So that was really nice. I really appreciated that video. If you're interested in Battle Golf for Yui, I'd recommend you check it out. Next up, we have Bishoujo Senshi Sailor Moon Super S Fua Fua Panic. We called this Floating Panic. And this is a puzzle game. It's like a Tetris style, like versus puzzle. And, you know, Floating Panic because it's these balloons. Yeah, it's a fun little game. This is something that Task Force really wanted to do. He's somebody who I work with at Dynamic Designs. That's a translation group, and we do a whole bunch of really great translations. And we wanted to just do some smaller projects. You know, we work on like tons of huge RPGs, and they take forever, and they're cool. But this was just a little one-off thing, and so I translated it. You know, Bongo did the hacking, Draken did, the script writing and stuff like that. And yeah, it went really well. And this got a user review here on the site, which is cool. So finally something for fans of either one. To others who wish to want either the manga Crystal Viz version of or the DIC version, this game is for you, especially if either of you, I don't think this person's first language is English, like Puyo Puyo, here's hoping the same can be done for all the other games of Sailor Moon. And, you know, I concur. I'd love to see all of the Sailor Moon games get translated. And, yeah, surprisingly enough, there are still Sailor Moon games that haven't been translated out there. So I'd work on them. But yeah, you know, that's nice to see. And, you know, I don't know, we can check some of this other stuff here. What is this, Sailor Moon? You know, there's a long play that was from 4 years ago. You know, it's a little hard to tell, but I don't think there are many videos up of, you know, like of this game, of our translation. Shiryu GL actually does posts videos of a lot of our translations, which is, again, is really nice. And I think they write for Nintendo, it's not Nintendo Age, Nintendo Life. I was thinking of Atari Age, I think. So they write for Nintendo Life, I think. And so they'll do articles. A lot of times these translations will show up on Nintendo Life, which also is super cool. I really appreciate that. And yeah, so a lot of times you know, they posted like 15 minutes of gameplay. They don't do any discussion. They just do some gameplay, and you know, you can see how the game plays, and you know, the little bits, you know, the stuff we worked on for the translation, character names. There's some in between like scene dialogue and stuff like that. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, you know, again, in terms of reception, I don't know if well, I guess I can't avoid that. We'll check out GameFAQs. So, reviews. There's one from '06. That's way before we worked on the game. And facts and stuff like that. But it's like, has anyone talked about it? No. I mean, and maybe people would talk about something like this somewhere else. Granted, I don't think there's a lot to talk about a Sailor Moon puzzle game, but it's nice. It's nice to see people actively playing your translations and talking about them. Sometimes there's not a lot of discussion. But this next one, this was a cool project, Bubblegum Crash, on the PC Engine, and I feel like this is one of the most well-received projects that I've worked on. Actually, it at the time I think was, well, I mean at the time it was the one I was most proud of, but for quite a while after, I think it's been one of the ones I've been the most proud of. Now, this is something that I did the translation for. I think I dumped the script myself, and then Dave Shadoff helped me out doing the script editing and revision. He kind of like play tested the game and did all of that stuff. I super appreciate that. I think he did a great job. And Tomathius did the hacking on this. Again, awesome job. I love how it turned out. Now, are there a couple little things here and there that I would maybe readdress now? Absolutely, yeah. But we released this back in 2007. It was a pretty early project for me. And, there weren't a lot of TurboGrafx 16 translations. I mean, this is probably, TurboGrafx 16 English translations. We actually still only have 25 results, And granted, I mean, the PC Engine maybe doesn't have, like, the most games on it, but it certainly, there's a lot. I mean, another of the 25 was one that David and I worked on, also, this Maze in the Coco. We'll come back to it. But anyway, so are there any Are there any reviews? Nope. But when I say it was well received, what I'm talking about is, so Bubblegum Crash on the PC Engine. psychomoga did a full playthrough on this, and this is a little hard for me because if you actually go here, we can see that this person passed away. This is a pinned comment. In fact, it was only about a year ago. Well, I don't know. It was edited a year ago, so I guess it was in 2015 that Jeremy passed away. And I don't even think I've watched these videos. I should, just to see. I didn't know this person, personally, but they did reach out to me at one point, and they were asking like about one of the projects we were working on. It might have been Slayers or one of those. I think it was a Dynamics Designs project specifically, because they were like, oh, I was thinking of doing a playthrough and posting it on YouTube, and like they were asking my permission for something, but I think they were sort of just asking for my input, and I was like, well, I don't know, I mean, if you're going to be posting the whole game, and because at the time, like, I didn't, I mean, a game like this, it's an adventure game. I mean, if you do a long play of it and post the whole game, that's it. Like, there's no reason for somebody to play the game if they've watched this playthrough of it. But I've come to really appreciate, even specifically this playthrough that Jeremy made, because I can come and I can watch it. Somebody who translated the game, and I'm not going to play. I did play through the game once. I'm not going to play through it again, and I can kind of revisit it, And I think, in the ensuing years, certainly since this was posted in 2014, it's become much more common for people to post gameplay videos, and I wouldn't have reacted the way that I did, I think, had it been a few years later. But I could tell that I think it caught Jeremy off guard, and I think he felt a little, offended, like I didn't think he should be like doing this, and I guess it's just especially poignant since he's passed away. Like, it's okay that he did this. I actually really appreciate it. So I can't tell that to him now anymore, but we still have his video of this, and I think that that's really great, and I enjoy watching it once in a while just to see my translation. It's fun. But not only that, you have this person here, Isimus Prime, did a little bit of a playthrough. I think this was about a year ago, in 2017. I haven't actually finished watching this, but I think I watched the first one maybe around when it came out. And this person actually like talks during it, and I think that they have kind of a fun playthrough. And this was actually talked about by another guy that I follow. What is it? Retrocore. And this Retrocore 3 volume 19, he just goes through, I don't know, just a bunch of random old games. But I love this video, just of him talking about our translation project of Bubblegum Crash. Again, I don't know that he really, credits us a whole lot. I don't even know where it is. It towards the end? I don't know, man. Is it still in here? It's here somewhere. Anyway, well, I don't know. Doesn't even look like it's in here. Is this the right video? Languages. Anyway, he had nice things to say about our translation of the game. So those are the kind of things that I really appreciate. Again, if we look at this Bubblegum Crash, there isn't much up here, but actually, well, no, because this was in 2010. When did we release this? Oh, 2007. This might actually be based on our translation, this walkthrough too, which is pretty cool. I haven't checked that out. But yeah, it's cool to see. Like I said, I feel like that game was pretty well received. Oh, actually, not only that, not to keep talking about this one game, but this is also probably my favorite thing, one of my favorite things related to a translation project that I've done. This is a blog, a Let's Play and Overthink Bubblegum Crash for the PC Engine. This person here, Rainy, at doing their Destroyed for Comfort thing. This was back in 2015. This is just wonderful. They talk about how they've wanted to play this game for a long time, and they found this translation project come up, and they just have a wonderful sense of humor. You can tell that they played the whole game. They don't cut it any slack, really. They call it out for what it is. But it's super fun to read through them just talking about their playthrough of it. It's not all that long. If you guys are interested in this at all, I'd really recommend it. I want to make sure that I submit this to archive.org if it hasn't. I mean, it probably has been crawled, but just in case it hasn't, because I never want to lose this. It's a really funny, interesting little, it's a blog post about this translation. And I think that's super cool. So more quickly, we'll move through some of these. City Adventure Touch. It was something we just released in 2018 here. This was Cyclax and I. This was Supper and I. I'm sorry. This was Supper. Cyclax and I just worked on a couple projects in 2018. That was SWAT and Sherlock Holmes. So I apologize. This was Supper. Supper did an awesome job on this. We did this right after right after Battle Golf for Yui. And this is just a goofy adventure game. I don't really fault people for not jumping all over this with a lot of reaction. But again, no user reviews here. There is a little bit on it. There's no YouTube videos, I can tell you that to start with. I don't think there's anything on GameFAQs. But if we do a little search, let's see, City Adventure Touch Mystery of Triangle. Let's see some of the stuff that I've clicked on now. Let's try a re-east. Yeah, so you get some stuff sometimes. This is Retro Game Network. This is a cool little article. I sometimes these sites, it's like, did they lift this article from another site and republish it, or is this something they did on their own? I kind of think they did this. Oh no, see, that's why the source is Retro Collect. So I'll go to RetroCollect and show you the original article. But they actually added some images and stuff that I don't think were in RetroCollect's original article. In fact, I'm not. These quotes from the README might not have even been in the original article. I'm not sure. So there was this one, and then there's RetroCollect. This was the original article, and this is cool. Like it's a professional looking thing. Like somebody had to Photoshop these things in, and they talk a little bit about it. They posted just a honestly, this is just a repost of like it's not actual gameplay from our translation patch is what I'm trying to say. But anyway, it's fun when people pick up the news about these things coming out. But again, like, it's an old Famicom game. But I'd like to see some people play it, do a let's play, or do a review. That's one of those things. Like I just like to see some reviews for some of these sometimes. Daimeido Meikyu no Tatsujin. This was something I worked on with King Mike way back. So this would have been July 2006. This is one of my very earliest projects. King Mike and I worked on a couple projects. They were the first ones that got released. I'd worked on projects since about 2002, 2003. But it took a while before we really got stuff released. So this was a super fun project for me. I just have fond memories of it because of that. But yeah, so, and there's news articles for this translation. There may not be any news articles, but we do post news on romhacking.net. So I mean, you guys are gonna see, and just within the past year or so, I feel like, somewhat due to my advocation of it, we finally managed to convince Nightcrawler to do actually a really wonderful redesign of the site that is fully whatever you call it there, active, not active, reactive, whatever it's called, I forget. But it's a modern theme, and and we've got social media, so you can share it on Facebook, you can share it on Twitter. So when these things come out, there's going to be news posts about this stuff, and you can share that stuff. I'd like to see people getting the word out. But so I don't think that there's too much about this. I think there is one video that somebody did of our translation of our playthrough of our translation. Now, what's a little bit annoying is I see this TN King Mike, and what I think that this is a pre-patched ROM that somebody downloaded. And I'm not here to get on your case and crucify you because you downloaded a pre-patched ROM, but that's not the way you're supposed to do it. And the reason is because we provide translation patches that are to be applied to the original ROM. And the reason that we do that is because the original ROM is not our intellectual property. Copyright laws have not changed, despite, the times changing. For better or worse, they are the way that they are, and we don't own the original rights to the original ROM. And so having the original ROM and all of its information distributed along with our translation is really against the spirit in which we release the translations. The translated materials should remain separate from the original ROMs. You should acquire the original ROMs on your own, and you should apply the patch to them. But that said, somebody took the time to play. I don't know if they played through the whole game, but I have a feeling you could probably finish this game in an hour. It's a really cool, maze-based puzzle game, and it's nothing earth-shattering. But the translation was super fun for me to do. You can see there's lots of little, jukebox things, and you run into all these characters. There's these puzzle segments. I kind of forget exactly how it all works, but you're trying to make your way through this maze. You're just trying to get out, and each level is like a maze. So you collect all these items, and you have to collect hearts. Like your life goes down as you move through the dungeon. Like, I don't know if it's, I think it might be time based. It's a super cool game. You know, for what it is, an old Famicom game that never came out here. You know, you've got this guy. Where do you get these? Bizarre. It is bizarre, I guess, but it was fun to translate. So, Dikaya Monogatari. I didn't do much on this. I'm listed as translation support, so you know, I'm sure I helped translate some stuff. This was a Dynamic Designs release, and it's a cool game. Super Shell Monster Story. I'd recommend you guys check it out, but I didn't have a lot to do with that. Doremi Fantasy graphics text translation. This I didn't have much to do with either. It is a project I'm kind of proud to have a credit on, though, because it's an RPG-1 project. It may be the only RPG-1 project that I'm credited on, actually. I guess in association with Gaijin Productions. Gaijin Productions is super familiar, but I don't remember who that is. They've done a bunch of stuff. I think that... Oh, last month I had 2014. I don't know. Oh, actually, here we go. Yeah, Web Archive. They're defunct. I feel like they were older. RPG-1 was older. Chris RPG passed away. You know, I'll go ahead and bring this up. This is my projects page. This is Chris. He passed away in 2007. It was just tragic. It was just tough. I mean, he was probably around the same age that I am now, you know, in his early 40s. You know, I was a few years younger than him, you know, maybe like 10 years younger than him, probably, approximately, probably a little less, when we were hanging out doing translation projects together, you know, and you know, he had a site, RPG-1. They released, you know, several really cool translation projects, Doremi Fantasy being one of them. And yeah, I just remember like emailing back and forth with Chris, and he was such a cool guy. He got me into this hobby. I probably wouldn't be doing this if it weren't for Chris RPG. So so I'm really glad that I'm credited in this. But again, it was like a little bit, along with a whole bunch of other people, Satsu and King Mike, and you know, all these people, and these are some of the guys that would do translation back in the day, Faraday and stuff like that. He worked with the Dynamic Designs when they weren't Dynamic Designs. That was almost a little before my time, but obviously, you know, I was active then. Energy Breaker. So this is a project I'm pretty proud of, but it's kind of, I look at it as sort of Satsu's baby, you know. He or she, I'm pretty sure it's a he, worked super hard on this and really made this game and this translation what it is. Nesquik too, but I remember when, you know, other people may remember it differently, but very distinctly, I was looking for projects to work on, and I saw that Nesquik had this game kind of languishing around, and I think they were asking for help with it, and I reached out and I was like, hey, do you need help with this? And they were like, yeah. So they got me some of the script, and they're like, you know, go for it. So I started translating it. But right around that time, they also found like several other translators interested in working on it. So we all split the script up and translated individual parts. And then it went on into a relatively lengthy production period, which it had already been through like quite a long production as it was. But anyway, Energy Breaker. It's a very, very interesting, I don't know, does Nesquik still have his weird site up? Oh no, this is Udachi. I think this is Satsu's site. I could be wrong. But anyway. Oh, I didn't realize, wow, Balls and Gideon Z tested this. That's very interesting. Anyway, I mean, Gideon Z is still doing stuff, but Balls, I don't know. Anyway. Yeah, so there's one review here. Just one for like a relatively major RPG on the Super Nintendo, but that's totally cool. I'm really glad that Claviaturist did a review right on the site. There are, I don't know if there are any reviews on GameFAQs. There's nothing. It's so weird. There's some good walkthroughs. I don't know if Richie did this one based on ours. I mean, you know, the translation that was eventually released. But what I wanted to highlight is, if you look up Energy Breaker, SNES Drunk. I've mentioned SNES Drunk before, maybe at least once. This dude is super legit, and I really appreciate that they're willing to, you know, highlight strange and interesting games on the Super Nintendo that, you know, maybe people aren't super familiar with, and, you know, even if they're like sometimes fan translations. This is a really nice, cool video. It's only 3 minutes long. It doesn't get super in depth, but this is a good video if you guys just want a little preview into Energy Breaker and what it's all about. Check out SNES Drunk's video. It's super cool, and you know, as there is a full playthrough of this on YouTube also. I mean, it's, yeah. I think it was probably this one. There's a speed run that's new. Yeah, I think it's the Sinrevi. Anyway, it goes on forever. It's got like, you know, 50, 60, 70 entries into it because it's a long game. But you can also check out some gameplay of it. It's a cool game. I haven't actually played through the whole thing. I just played a little. God, we just released this. This was Dynamic Designs. What's been nice about this is a little more of a high-profile Super Nintendo RPG, and for some reason people have really latched onto this for doing Let's Plays a little bit more than some other stuff. No reviews here yet. I don't even think there's any reviews here. I mean, there's one, but this is old. This is, you know, from the Japanese, but the YouTube has latched onto it a little bit. So if you look up like God on the SNES, there's some cool stuff. There's this David Vink person who is doing a playthrough. There was someone at Patent Plays started a playthrough, just a couple, and this is of the translated version, so that's pretty cool to see. You know, and like I said, I don't know, is it pathetic or something? I like looking up and seeing what people, you know, are saying about our translations. It's just, it's, I think, one of the privileges of, you know, having worked on these projects. Galaxy Robo. This is one that I think is one of the kind of the saddest stories out of all these projects that I've worked on. You know, here are all the people that worked on the project. I worked on this with Dynamic Designs. This was just kind of something we did just because. And but I really enjoyed this game. It's a script that was dumped a long time ago, and I actually think A.N. Nihen, who's somebody that I worked with on my projects, I'm sure you'll see her name show up. I think she gave me the script for some reason, and we were looking for something to work on, and I mentioned I had the script for this, and we just went for it. It's a tactical RPG, so it's tactical RPG, with like a Gundam-ish style thing. I'll bring up a video for it. So we've got Galaxy Robo. It's also the name of like something from Power Rangers or something like that. So yeah, so you get into it here. You know, it's this kind of gameplay. You're moving your units around. It's all scenario based, so it's kind of story based. Like, you've got characters that are all part of the stories. You don't make up your own units or anything like that. And we just had so much fun. I feel like I had fun translating this. I feel like Wild Bill had fun doing the script writing for it. I feel like, you know, Bongo and I kind of worked on the initial. I mean, you know, Bongo did the technical work on it, but he and I sort of went back and forth, like, about the initial script dump and some of the technical stuff, and it's just cool. And it's a fun game. I really liked this game. Is it a great game? No. But is it a good game? Yes. And is it fun? Yes. And is it cheesy? Yes. And I thought it was just super great. I played through this whole game for testing. I normally don't do that for games, but something about this one, you know, it needed to be tested, and I tested it out, you know, along with some other people. But it's one of those ones where there's nothing on this game, just nothing. Um, Galaxy Robo. Well, I shouldn't say that. There's a little bit. So there's no user reviews. I do think it got a news post, probably from like Nintendo Life when it came out. And there is, let's see. Shiryu GL did do a post to it, so I really appreciate that. I don't wanna like discount. I'm not erasing the contribution. Shiryu GL was definitely on top of this when we released it. There were a couple of good news posts, and I really appreciate people getting the word out like that. There was a review also on GameFAQs, so that's more than I see actually for some of my projects. So I shouldn't be down, but I think what it is that I feel like there should be a little bit more out there on this game because I like it. I think it's I guess it's a pet project of mine, kind of. And this is a cool review. Like they don't say it's like the most amazing game ever, but they say it's good. It's saved from the rubbish pile of history by its boyish fanboyism towards its source material, its deft handling of the controls, and being just fun enough to spend an hour or an afternoon playing. I think they give it a pretty good review, so I shouldn't be too down. But I haven't seen any Let's Plays. This is for the original Japanese version. I haven't seen any Let's Plays on YouTube. This is our original like announcement video. I haven't seen any reviews other than that one. There just hasn't been much talk about Galaxy Robo, and I'd like more people to play it. I want people to play. I want people to play it and review it because it's a hard game. It actually is hard. There's a couple of somewhat confusing scenarios where you have to hold out instead of like defeating the enemies, and the ending is super hard. But it's fun. It's a cool game. Anyway, story of Myoho Hoshi o Sagashite. Back in 2009, this was a project that this was really self-started by me. This is, I think, maybe one of the earlier projects that like it wasn't something I did with King Mike, where King Mike like dumped the script and like gave it to me and I translated it, and then he just like did all the work on it and like released it. This was something where like I actually got in here. I inserted the font, I dumped the script, I translated it. I was heavily involved in the initial production of this. Andy Hen helped me out with the translation. Paul Jensen did an awesome job playtesting and editing the script. Steven Seahorn did the hacking. He did an awesome job. And then originally, gosh, I was working on this, I think, originally with RPG1. Also, this is one of those first projects where like I think I brought this to Chris, and like I said, he passed away, and it was super sad. And this didn't really go anywhere, but I may be remembering that wrong, but I think I'm remembering it right. And but yeah, I was able to find Steven to help out with this. And anyway, it's a goofy adventure game. It's a Japanese like text adventure game. So if we put in, what is this? Sagashite. Oops. Yeah, so there's just a little bit of video material on this. This was me posting a little preview. But this one, you've got the normal ending and the bad ending. And this is one of the very first games on a console, I think, to have multiple endings. I don't know that I can claim it's the first. It may be, but that's kind of a bold claim, and I'd have to back it up. But it's an early game. It was pretty early for having multiple endings, and I think it's cool that somebody posted the endings. I mean, granted, I don't. Oh, and they posted this one too, happy ending. So you got the happy ending, the bad ending, and the normal ending. 3 different endings for this adventure game on the Sega Master System, the Mark III, which was not very popular in Japan at all. So this was a fun project. I really enjoyed it. Has anyone, done a review on GameFAQs? I doubt it. There's a FAQ, so that's cool. Odino did a FAQ. I don't know, this might be on our translation. This was from 2010. Anyway, oops. But yeah, not a lot of info. You know, no other playthroughs that I know of. I don't think nobody reviewed it here. You know, it's a cool game for what it is. Now, Hyper Area, this was cool. This we did just a couple years ago in 2016, and this is one that I also brought to Dynamic Designs for some reason. I was like, hey, let's work on this, and we did, and we released it. And this actually was this is pretty well received too. This is one of the more well received projects I've worked on, I would say. Also, like along with like Bubblegum Crash and stuff. You know, this is kind of the Dynamic Designs team sans Wild Bill. Wild Bill didn't work on this one with us, but it was Bongo, me, Task Force, and Draken. Draken's probably not going to be working on projects anymore. I mean, never say never. But he's said recently he's stepping away after God on the Super Famicom there. But so what I wanted to point out, well, let's see, are there any no reviews here? I don't know if there are any reviews of our translation. There are reviews. Oh yeah, there probably is. So there's one from 2015. But yeah, actually there's one from 2016 and one from 2018. So like I said, this was a little more well received. So that's cool. Probably 2 reviews of, you know, what I assume is of our translator. They didn't like the game very much, but you know, these people did. You know, that happens. You don't have to like the game. But you know, they have talked about it on YouTube quite a bit, and I really appreciate this. Now this is a long play of the Japanese version. I kind of, you know, it'd be nice to see somebody to play. Well, I guess somebody did play our version, so there's a live playthrough here. And SNES Drunk also did a really nice "What is Hyper Area?" Now this is another one of SNES Drunk's, like nice and short, 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Check this out. It's got a lot of good info about the game. It's super cool. But what I think I almost appreciate even a little more is the Game Grinder's review of this. And not to take anything away from SNES Drunk, but this dude, I just really appreciate how into this he was. Now, he made his own repro cart, and I'm totally fine with that. This is his own thing that he did for himself. He didn't sell it online. He didn't buy it from a convention or something stupid like that. You guys know what I think about repros. And you know, the thing is, it's just super illegal. If they change the copyright laws, I don't mind people making repros, but it's not legal, you know. And when you put my work on something that's illegal and sell it, I mean, it's already a little shady just doing the translation. But when somebody else makes money involved and it's my work that they're doing that with, that's not cool. But Game Grinder didn't do that, and so I mad respect. But I just like this video. He goes into the anime a little bit, and you know, and he just talks about the game, and I think he gives it a nice review. So I really, you know, it's funny, I'm trying to like get a spot that has some text in the game, and I haven't seen any. There's plenty of text in the game. Your partner talks all the time up here in this little window. But anyway, this is a cool video. So you know, stuff like that I just really appreciate when, you know, when people go out of their way. I don't know that actually that the Game Grinder really credited, you know, like us, like, well, I mean, they do say, you know, they actually have a link right to Dynamic Design site, so that's cool. That's way better than like a link to like a ROM site with the pre-patched ROM or something. So I really appreciate like the stuff like that. Matt did a lot of props for that. So that was super cool. Kala no Tsurugi, this was my first released project, not the first one I worked on. This was with King Mike. Satsu helped me out and did the editing, and I mean, honestly, like, it was my first translation project. So and it's also like an old crummy Famicom game. No reviews. Honestly, I don't care all that much. This isn't a super great game, but it's an early RPG, and it's super interesting if you are interested in like the history of Squaresoft and Final Fantasy and things like that. I think this is for the Famicom disk system, and the way I understand it, and I could be wrong, but this dog and Xtal, I think was like a branch of Square, or like people that kind of went on to like work at Square, were this was sort of like their stuff, their label for their stuff that they did on the Famicom Disk System. So you know, that doesn't necessarily mean this is like a super good game, but it's interesting historically, and I'm happy that I had a hand in translating it. Excuse me. So this video is going a little long, so I think what I'm going to do is split it up. So we've gotten down to Kishindoji Zenki, and I think that's around halfway. So why don't we pause here, and I'll do a part 2, and I'll go ahead and just talk a little bit more about my project. I hope you're enjoying this, and if you are, or even if you aren't, if you want to check out some of my other content, and you do like it, I hope that you will click a like, and I hope that you'll subscribe, and I hope that I'll see you again for more video game and anime related videos. Take care.